Are you ready for metal? Hello, everybody. I'm Steele from Hot Pole Studios here, and tonight we are hopefully finishing off the track we worked on last time from SkyeAsylum, that is metal. And I've got quite a few little bits to do to finish this mix. We got so far as to pull everything in, see what was what, do the broad strokes of the mix. And tonight, hopefully, we are finishing the whole thing to send to its creator for approval and probably for some mix revisions. Now, let's move to that screen where we'll get stuck straight in. Hello, everybody. Make yourselves at home. Settle in. Grab yourselves a drink. I certainly have. And we are going to talk about this mix in front of us. This is SkyeAsylum's The Arcane. So, since I saw you last, I have managed to get the DI tracks for this verse guitar. So we will be reamping that through my Marshall JCM 800. Oh, that's a point. There was no... I also, typical me, started looking at the sound of the mix just before the stream. Hello, we are good. And yeah, I ended up changing a lot of things, but small stuff. So let's play you some drums. Now I listen to it, that snare's not got a lot of thump in the low end. But I was having an issue with the snare where even with gates and such, it didn't quite sound right. It sounded like there was a lot of kick. It sounded like this. And if I put a regular gate on, hello, Chris, hello, how you doing? Hi, everybody. If I put a regular gate on, it sounded like what all the ghost notes, the low-end rattle, was gone. So I've used a plugin from Boz Labs called Gatey Waity, which only actually gates the low, which is exactly what I wanted. So that kick, boof, is gone. So when the kick hits, we don't really get the low end coming through the snare mics, but the little rattle and ghost notes on the snare come through just fine. And then the full hits give us that low end, which also means I can go through an EQ like this, find a low note in the snare and probably bring some out. That's what I wanted to do. That might be it. I can see the spike there of 200-ish hertz. Let's see if that's done the trick. There we go. Sounds pretty decent to me. The toms I did want to come to, but I've not got to yet, so I'll come back to them, remind me. And the other thing was I'm releasing a video fairly soon on gain staging. And I realised that this mix, I hadn't quite heeded my own advice, so I ended up taking everything down by 6 dB, so there were no clips anywhere. And it sounds better. So now I can turn on this snare room. I think that's sounding pretty good, and I can throw the bass in, which I turned down a little bit to match. And then I threw in the rhythm guitars. They're 12 dB down. I might have to change something here. And yeah, there's a lot has to change about the rhythm guitars because there's going to be automation. There's going to be some clever stuff to make the vocals fit better. Cool, there's still a bit of a grunt, but I changed that from an SSL channel. That's now turned off. I went with the Lindell 80 channel, which is kind of like cleanish Neve with a high frequency boost there and 180 hertz. Yeah, that would be nice if you could hear what I was hearing, but I have made sure that the routing, you're not hearing the VSX without, because that would be weird. I mean, I could change the routing so that you could hear, if you've got VSX headphones, exactly what I hear. But I think that would be for an audience of one. And everybody else would turn it off. So I might not do that. But yeah, first thing to do today is these guitars. These were the verse guitars. And there's no definition to them at all. And my first thought was it was something to do with EQ or something, but it's not at all. If I just solo them, it's not anything apart from there's too much gain on each single note and there's a reverb going on, so the whole thing just blends into one constant line. What I'm looking for, and I got the DIs for it, this is what the DI sounds like. Much clearer. And so what I'm going to do now is I've routed this to go out of line 3, and I made myself a new channel. So let's go new guitar left, and that new guitar, that's gonna need, I've got 2 notes captor down there. Unfortunately, John Brown's still got my captor X. So what I'm gonna do is stick my usual cab setup in here, which is the Big Beast. License is obsolete. Oh, great. Yeah. Show my personal details on there. I'm going to have to... And don't let me... There we go. That's really annoying how it puts your personal details on screen. Great. Thanks for that. So... Anyway. There we go. I'll put a gate on this later, but let's use a 57, slightly off center, bit of overload because I can. Duplicate that with exactly the same cab. 412, Big Beast. On the 421, this probably needs going to come down. Oh, if you didn't see anything, don't worry about it, but it was just showing you all my, yeah. Yeah, so the overall volume is a little bit lower. You might have to turn things up. But am I using stereo pan or stereo balance? Whichever one this is. Stereo balance. Because stereo pan has a width control, which I do not use, generally. So let's have a look how this sounds. There we go. So that, actually because that has less gain than before, that actually gives it more definition, so it should pop from the mix. So what I want to do is reamp this. So I'm going to mute that one and just run this back and hit record. The volume's going to be wrong. There we go. So that's a little loud, and I'm going to take that down by 6 dB. But I'm going to duplicate it and call this new guitar right and hard pan them. So yeah, no rev today, unfortunately. But that's just because I'm moving house fairly soon, and I'm trying to get as much out of the house as I can. So as soon as I've got the new 2 tracks from Mishvald, by the way, so hopefully later this week, I'll do all the reamping for those 2 tracks from the JCM 800 and the Road King, and then they're getting moved to the studio for the next couple of weeks. Then, you know, bit by bit, I'm going to take as much of this setup to the studio as possible, then do the bulk of the house move, and then set up a new one of these in a bigger room. A bigger room! Ah! Yes, now you know my name and my birthday. I mean, a lot of people already kind of knew my birthday. You could work it out. It's not that hard, but just showing details like that on screen is never ideal, you know. So this is supposed to come out of line 3. It's going out of the angry reamp into my modded JCM 800. I figured that I didn't really need the rev for this because this sound, I wanted kind of a modded Marshall. And guess what? I have a modded Marshall right here. So, let's see how this sounds panned. It's going to need some EQ. Clip it before upload, yeah. Well, YouTube does its own re-upload, so when that's done, there's now like an auto blur feature you can do, so I'll just go through and I'll quickly do that. Now that sounded horrible because it was slightly out of time because the reamping, but let's listen to it. What's that you say, David? You wish they'd played that an octave higher as well. You know what? Let's finish reamping for the second verse, and then I'm going to try something. Yeah, that is a really good guitar sound on that reamp, so it would have been fine without the rev, honestly, because that's brutals. Totals brutals. I see Benj is already kind of seeing what I'm going for. I'm not going to use Melodyne to make higher pitches, but I have a reamp set up and I have the original DIs. So what I could do, let's just experiment for a minute, because what you can do, and a lot of people forget you can do this, when you reamp, it doesn't have to be pure. You can screw with it. Now, I've got Amplitude 5, which I'm going to be demonstrating in a different video. Yeah, when you reamp, no, Reaper does compensate for the latency, but only after you hit stop. Because there's no way for it to shove the file back by that number of milliseconds while you're still recording, which is why if you're doing 2 tracks, it sounds kind of out. Kind of sounds wrong. Well, this is taking its sweet time, isn't it? Ah, there we go. Right, so I want to turn off virtual amp. Bypass, whatever the hell that is, off. You're all off. DI, off. I think. And right. Oh, Jesus. Single. And what I want, if I can find the effect, is some sort of whammy. Pitch. Whamminator, as in low whammy. Let's see. Bend. Let's see how that sounds blended in with this. Yeah, sounds horrible at 2 octaves, but yeah, yeah, at 1 octave I can do that. Have it at much lower volume, and then just EQ it so it sits in. That could be kind of cool. So yeah. Cool. So that's got some hiss to it, but sounds like my plane's about to take off. And that's with all the ground loops all sorted out, but that's what a modded Marshall sounds like. I could use the polyphonic features in Helix Native, but I'm not going to. Right, so there we go. Just make sure the right one's coming out, and I just realised the other reason it sounds terrible is that there was no cab simulation on there because I'm not using the Captor X. I'm just using the good old Captor. Which, yeah, oof. So, that was that. Give guitar octave. And guitar octave. Octave right. And let's stick all these in a folder. Verse guitar. And then we have something we can at least look at and give it a color and then say, right, this is a thing. There we go. Okay. That's better. Ah, the synth parts were meant to dominate. Cool. That's good. I can still do that. Nevertheless, I do think that the guitars had a bit kind of a yee before, whereas now I can pick out each note. But hello, our benevolent creator is in the chat. So. Right, so now let's go with the Lindell. This rubbish keyboard. Let's listen to these. Take the low end out. Drive them a little. Have I tried the Lindell 50? I've not. I thought I had it installed on here, but apparently I don't. So it's a bit late for tonight for me to check it out, which is a shame. But yeah, let's have a look at this. There we go. When I think of a sat-back guitar, that's what I think of. A bit less low mids, a lot less low end. Because this will now have its own place in the mix without having to be loud. I can now use the fader to just bring it in. That's the next thing I wanted to do. Whoa, big flood of chat. Cool. So the strings are a little bit sharp still. And what I can do with them is use kind of a stock EQ to find that particularly sharp frequency. And if that's less, that means that the strings can be actually louder in the mix without hurting you. Right, I'm not done with the vocals yet, but now it's time for a very clever little neat trick that I learned a while back, which is to use, especially on this heavy rhythm group, I'm going to get rid of that SSL channel, now I'm not using it, a thing called, track spacer. So I'm going to send the vocal group over to these rhythm guitars, but on the side chain, side chaining is something I usually don't like, but when track spacer does it, it's very frequency dependent. So, here we go.
The light burns blue, surrounding shape, the feeling shout that cannot escape.
Right, it's not going to do anything here.
To never be the same.
Now that's absolute overkill. So what I want to do is not have this affect the low at all, not affect the super highs at all, and basically not affect much and then just bring it in a touch.
As the sunfire burns, the courage to never be the same, to accept my shame as the cold winds churn, blessed with the power, the
Let's do it as mid-side as well. Hopefully with a quicker attack and release.
As the soul fire burns, the courage to never be the same, to accept my shame as the cold winds churn, blessed with the power of the arcane.
There we go. That makes no sense out of context. It sounds horrible. But I can actually turn up the guitars a little bit now, and magic happens. Let's just bring them up by just a dB and watch what happens when the vocals come in. And the other cliche, of course, is the kick drum to bass track spacer, which is exactly the same thing as what people used to say for, side chaining the kick. But it's... Oh, did I send that? What am I doing? What have a solo did? Did I just get lost? Yeah, so I need track spacer. What I can do is have track spacer to clear out the bass only on the low end, so that I still get all the clank and all the detail and all the grind of the bass, even when the kick's going. So it doesn't feel like the bass is gone then. So what I want is to cut all the stuff out there. Because what happens now is I can turn the bass up and it feels bigger as a bass, but whenever the kick goes, it gets its own space. Turn that down a little bit, send into track spacer because it's crushing the damn thing. Is track spacer a visual plugin or an ear plugin? Ooh. I mean, that could be the same question for any of them, really. They're all ear plugins, but I like the visual because it confirms to me what my ears are hearing. If I can hear that something's dipping and then I see it on screen and I see it dipping after that, I'm like, yeah, I'm not just crazy. It is just me. Okay. Well, thank you, Jack. This is kind of the plan going forward, is when I have mixed projects on now, in between everything else that I've got going on, the plan is to do it all on stream. So there's lots and lots that I can be getting on with here. The next step, I think, is going to have to be just listen through. I think the kick has lost a little bit of low end now. I wonder if everybody else agrees with me. Oh, no. That guitar, out of context, it's actually really bright. So Let's find the brightness and just take it down a bit. Ah, that's better. That's sounding better. There's still a spike, which I need to find and get rid of. Let's try that. Cool, I can get my super low end back as long as I don't go crazy. Right, that's something I'm gonna do actually, is that this vocal, there's a particular bit I'm not happy with.
My silence. My silence. The light burns blue.
It's that breath to silence. First guitars are still too far forward. Well, that's something we can play with. But there are two whispers here that come in stereo with my silence, and I want them to stand out and the main vocals actually overtaking them. So let's have a listen to these.
My silence.
There's quite a bit of low end in there which has to go. Low cut.
My silence.
And
My
let's.
silence.
There we go. Let's do what I did with the vocals. That's better. Yeah, and I'm gonna hit V for volume because when she goes, "Now turn away," that needs a definite volume bump. A volume bump. It needs a volume bump. A good couple of dB. I'm not sure if that's exactly enough, but let's run it back. Actually needs even more there. Just another dB. Do I use automation for vocals? That's what I'm doing right now. although I try and use it as minimally as possible, I try and make sure the compressors that I'm using and the EQ that I'm using to mold the compression does most of the work for me, because for me that's the most natural and organic way to get the sound I'm going for. But there will be sections that are too loud, too quiet, that need a bit of detail automation work. So I do automate, but I don't do it till the very end, when I know that it's the vocal sound I want, but it's not sitting in the mix where I want it. At that point, automation is the answer. So so do I use automation to work the compressor better? No. I make the compressor work properly, then automate.
With the power.
Right, this needs to pop out. So what I'm gonna do, Wave's vocal ride is a nice idea, but it never seems to work for me. Where I'm gonna use a copy of FG Grey. And I'm going to use this on the vocal group as a group compressor, just to make them gel and pop up a little more in the mix. Because now that I've pushed that verse vocal to soar over the rest of the music, the chorus vocal isn't quite giving us the energy that I want, but if I go so far as to just bring the volume up of it, it drowns the other instruments, and then you turn up the other instruments, and then you're back to square one, you've lost the game. That's where good compression comes in. So let's see how this does it.
They call my name as the fire burns. The courage to never be the same.
The ratio wasn't set. So let's go with 4:1.
They call my name as the fire burns. The courage to never.
Does automation work pre or post plugins? It works wherever you want it to work, but the V for volume works after effects.
They call my name as the fire burns. The courage to never be the same. To accept my shame as the cold winds turn. Blessed with the power, whisper sigh, they resurrect my whisper sigh, they resurrect.
I am going to go through, and if I hear any big breaths, they go.
They resurrect my compassion, my compassion, my compassion.
Oh, that's the other one of them.
Light burns blue, surrounding shape, feeling shot that cannot escape. Storm chasing the reveal, storm chasing the reveal the hell. So not escape, storm chasing the reveal the hell. So not escape, storm chasing the reveal the hell. So decay, I cannot turn away. I cannot turn away.
There's another candidate for volume pushing, because it just gets lost.
Cannot turn away. I cannot walk away. In the storm as I ride, to never hurt again. I will become everything. Call my
Oh yeah, that's the other thing that I was gonna try, was that bass drop's really cool, but it goes on way too long. There's no rest.
Call, call my name.
There you go. That little tiny silence there means that you get ba-da-ba-ba-da-da. So the band is SkyeAsylum and the song is The Arcane. I don't actually know the singer's name. If the guys from SkyeAsylum are in chat, maybe they could drop a name in the chat for me there. But when I'm sent mix jobs, I don't always know the full details. It's just part of the job is that it's a need-to-know basis, and quite often I don't, in a technical sense, I don't need to know. It's nice when I do know, but it doesn't kill me, when I don't. Right. Let's just clean these up because these are still ringing out.
Can I have a mouse?
What?
Can I have a mouse?
When you're in my bag, you might have to turn Bluetooth on.
Already a Bluetooth one that's not working on my laptop.
Ow.
My Bluetooth's working.
SkyeAsylum, as it is spelt in the top left corner of the screen.
I'll take my work then.
Yeah, you had to hold down the Bluetooth button, but there you go. I'm trying to help. Whatever. Yeah, let's just dip all the hissing out. There we go. There we go. As cool as those effects are, they negatively impact the next section over and over. I try and keep my mixes as clear as possible. So yeah, this mix is by no means done, and now that I'm hearing that vocal with more compression on, I can hear a particular high mid thing that I'm not fond of, that I should be able to just dial out.
I contemplate my silence.
Where is it?
The light burns blue, surrounding shape. The feeling shouts I cannot escape. A storm chasing the reveals of hell. A soul decay I cannot turn away.
There it was. Got it. Twitch chat isn't registering on my screen. The chat on Restream has been strange recently. So apologies if I'm not seeing stuff from David and others in Twitch chat. Yeah.
I contemplate my silence. My silence. Light burns blue, surrounding shape. The feeling shouts I cannot escape. Storm chasing the reveals of hell. A soul decay I cannot turn away. Call my name as the sunfire burns. The courage to never be the same. To accept my
That's the next thing I said I was gonna do. Was look at these toms, because now, not only are these not very loud, but they don't have enough attack on. And I was rooting through my old plugins, and I found this one, which is fascinating. This is Transgressor from Boz Labs, and this has Tom Bright Attack, which separately affects the transient. So hopefully I'll be able to really crank some transient out here. So without and with. I really want this to There we go. Yeah, so that's bringing out the attack of each tom, but also bringing out the sustain of each tom. There we go. And because I've brought everything down by several dB, I've got loads of scope now. I'm actually turning the whole tom group up. And make the spoken word section wider. Maybe. Let's have a look.
Everything.
I mean, it's already pretty wide like that, but it does definitely need more level. Because right now it's not popping out. The kick doesn't have enough weight, I don't think. You'll probably all agree with me now. Yeah, that could do with a lot more of that. Right, there's still something on that verse vocal, but I'm going to have to EQ that out after all the compression.
I contemplate my silence. The light burns blue, surrounding shape. The feeling shout that cannot escape. A storm chasing the reveals of hell.
I think that's got it on the vocal.
Contemplate my silence. Light burns blue, surrounding shape. The feeling shout that cannot escape.
You notice that the drum group is clipping. Does that matter? Not really, no. As long as everything's properly balanced. I mean, as you can see, I've taken everything down. It's barely clipping at its loudest. And yes, as bleed from the toms pop. Okay, you're all backseat mixing now. I didn't actually ask for opinions, so feel free to ask questions. And some of my regulars will know me quite well that they're putting suggestions in, which is cool, but there it is, bass mint, perfect.
Contemplate my silence. My silence. Shape, feeling shout that cannot escape. Storm chasing the reveals of hell. A soul decay I cannot turn away. Call my name as the sunfire burns. The courage
Right, it's that second snare mic that's got to go, I think, that's making the whole thing sound a little bit like a bin.
Contemplate my silence. Light burns blue, surrounding shape. A feeling shout that cannot escape. Storm chasing the reveals of hell. A soul decay I cannot turn away. Call my name as a sunfire burns.
Yep, snare sounded better without the EQ because it keeps things in phase properly with those triggers that I'm triggering. So what was it that I wanted on this? It wasn't... You know what? Sod it. Let's try basement, but not the saturate. I think it was a synthesize. Yeah, on the bottom of the snare, that's giving it a much more definite oof.
Contemplate my silence.
There's something in here. It's the Joel Wanasek room. Let's mute all these. The whole reason for the room there was to give a kind of a big but if it's not right, might have to do it as a different method. Some of these snare rooms are cool. Oh, Jesus Christ. That might be the one. That's ridiculous. That just needs a filter on it to get rid of all that high end that we don't need. And that will actually make it sound further away. That's it. Because now we've got the original crack of that snare, but with some ridiculous weight under it.
Contemplate my silence.
Right. Now we've just got a general imbalance. So the kick overall volume is too loud now. So I need a bit less of this. And this is where I turn my headphones up a little. And turn everything else back on, but turn them all down and bring them slowly up. There it is.
Shame as the cold war
think we're getting there. We're not finished. Oh, the Twitch is back. Going to. Oh no, I didn't accent the bass drop. I cut the bass drop to give it more impact. Before it went, and now it goes.
Call my name as the sunfire burns. The courage to never be the same. To accept my shame as the cold winds turn. Blessed with the power of the arcane. The as the cold winds turn, as the sunfire burns, feeling shots they cannot escape. Storm chasing to reveal the hell. So decay, I cannot turn away. I cannot walk away. In the storm as I ride, to never hide again. I will become everything. Call my name as the sunfire burns. The courage to never be the same.
Right, so the kick, snare, and the toms are too loud again because I keep turning them up. Yeah, so the snare sounds better. I took the high end out of the room trigger. I took a lot of the snare under snare mic out. I took a lot of the EQ out because EQ can be the mother of all problems if you overuse it. And then I actually used the compressor that I had, the VCA compressor from PSP. I used it more and it's brought more attack out the snare. How much louder did I make my headphones? Quieter. I keep making my headphones quieter, not louder. And someone asked about headphone monitoring. I am using Slate VSX. So I'm using well, I have been using mostly the midfields for Archon. Yeah. So yeah, I'm finding with a mix like this, especially with working with real drums, I am having to kind of do a few passes. But it's coming together now. So now I've got the drums. Now let's bring the bass in. Now let's bring the synths in for that verse. Yep, sounding good. Now bringing the clean guitar. No. Bringing the verse guitar. Let's move them, swap the order of them for the arrangement. Right, I'm going to do the track spacer thing with the synth group as well, because that should cut any weird frequencies. out of the synth. Hopefully not screwing too much up. Right, so I've got de-essers on some of the vocal tracks, but I'm going to put a de-esser on the overall vocal group, just as just a general catch-all, just in case. Vocal bus, wet vocal bus de-essing. There we go. So I don't want to voice the EQ. At this point, the drums are a little bit dark, so I'm going to use fresh air and just bring a tiny, tiny touch of the super top out if I can, of the whole kit. Now, hopefully that'll fit in a certain place in the mix. If not, I can just turn it off. Let's try it. Right, that de-esser was the Slate de-esser, the Aosis de-esser. I don't tend to use it on individual tracks. I find it can be quite heavy-handed sometimes, where actually the Waves classic just de-esser is one of my favorites for just individual de-essing on tracks. It just kind of does its thing without being intrusive. Where, yeah, the Aosis de-esser, it's a nice catch-all, but it can be overly clever sometimes, and you end up with really, like, toothless delivery on certain things if you use it a lot. So, yeah. Right, a little bit of automation needed. The start of each verse, the big orchestration hasn't quite dipped down yet. So we need to kind of push the vocals by a dB or two to sit it on top of that. until everything settles down. Hopefully, the ear shouldn't notice. More volume. Right, needs a bit more push on the whispers. Let's drive Decapitator a little. Oh, that, wow, that's got a lot of drive. Let's just push the output a bit then. There's another bit where it's a similar story where it's it needs a push. There we go. Right, so that garble vocal, as I've called it, mute, garble vocal, that's too loud, just way too loud. That's better. It's still there, but it's not just like, whoa! That bass drop can come up. Let's hit save. I was about to suggest basement on the bass drop. Let's just put the cutoff higher. Oh, those. That's fantastic. Now what's hissing at the end there? It's not that. It's partly them, but it's mostly the rhythm group that are hissing at the end. Oh, apparently not. What's hissing then? Is it the bass? Yeah, there's a lot of hissing on the bass. And let's just check the drums. Drums are still playing at that point. I should probably fade them out, tidy that edit up. Let's just see if this sounds clearer. Yeah, those guitars have to end sooner so that they're not honking in the end. Yeah, there is the old joke if the bass drop doesn't send the compressor to -10, it's not loud enough. But firstly, we're not running into a limiter. We're not running into a bus compressor at all, funnily enough. And that's actually a bit of a misnomer. As funny as it kind of is, you know, to joke about that kind of stuff. If you've got a bass drop in the middle of a song that does that, where does your song go? How do you elevate to the next step? You can't. So there you go. Keep it in mind. Let's listen from the top, see what we hear. Actually, sorry, I said no compressor. I have got the Shadow Hills going on here, but there's like nothing happening. The loudest part of the mix, it's let's listen. It's like nothing. So yeah, I do have the Shadow Hills on there, but I have it for the sound rather than for actual compression. So yeah, I don't like mixing into bus compressors. I just have never liked it. Sometimes I'll add one on at the end, but I don't do it top down. I find that it can kind of mess me up a little bit. If I'm in a big analog studio and everything's set perfectly gain staged already, then yeah, I will work into one. But generally, in the digital world, I'm so up and down with levels that it just kind of messes with me. Right, I'm going to try something. I'm going to try the typical cheesy, overblown filter effect on the drums at the start, because I feel like the drums at the beginning are way too much, which means that there's nowhere for the mix to go. So what I'm going to do is really drive a set of decapitator. You know what? I've just completely stumbled upon something by accident, which I'm gonna keep, because wow. Right. So the idea there was supposed to be that there's a mix knob in there, which I'm going to automate now. That's now at 37%. So let's find out where the first snare hit is. And just the idea was supposed to be, add an extra point in there and have this basically full. I might have to automate the volume down of this. Is there a synth in the intro getting lost? No, there is no synth at the start. It's literally just electric guitar, clean guitar, and drums, which is why I want to do something with the drums so that it's kind of a smaller intro so that it goes bing. Yeah, so that sounds really nice, but it's way too loud now at the start, which is also fine. There is also, output trim, which I'm going to automate so that at that point, in fact, just before that point, so it just goes shing, da-da-ding, da-da-ding. Then we get a nice... Yeah, so what I'm going to do is at that section, I'm going to cut this out. So I'm going to go crazy with it a little bit. And then back to where we were.
My compassion.
beginning to wonder if the verse vocals are just a little bit too thick still. Let's have another look at this, because they are very thick.
I contemplate my silence.
Let's see what happens with cutting some more lows out.
Light burns blue, surrounding shape. The feeling shouts that cannot escape. A storm chasing the reveals of hell. A soul decay I cannot turn away. I contemplate my silence. The light burns blue, surrounding shape. The feeling shouts that cannot escape. A storm chasing the reveals of hell. A soul decay I cannot turn away.
Right, let's try it this way. I've flipped the order now, so it EQs and takes a lot of the low end out before the 76 and the 2A. That might just push it in the way we like and give us the clarity we want.
Evenings I contemplate my silence. Light burns blue, surrounding shape. Light burns blue, surrounding shape. Light burns blue, surrounding shape. Feeling shouts that cannot escape. Storm chasing the reveals of hell. A soul decay I cannot turn away. Call my name as a sunfire. Evenings I contemplate my silence. Light burns blue, surrounding shape. Feeling shouts that cannot escape. Storm chasing the reveals of hell. A soul decay I cannot turn away. Call my name.
Let's just see if I can make those my silences stick out just by changing the tone on Get Decapitated. But then I'm my silent. There we go.
Light burns blue, surrounding shape. Feeling shouts that cannot escape. Storm chasing the reveals of hell. A soul decay I cannot turn away. Call my evenings I contemplate my silence.
That's it. That's... yeah.
Light burns blue, surrounding shape. Feeling shouts that cannot escape. Storm chasing the reveals of hell. A soul decay I cannot turn away. Call my name as the sunfire burns. The courage to never be the same. To accept my shame as the cold winds turn. Blessed with the power of the echo. Whispered sigh, I resurrect my compassion. My compassion. Light burns blue, surrounding shape. Feeling shouts that cannot escape. Storm chasing the reveals of hell. Soul decay I cannot turn away. I cannot walk away. In the storm as I ride, to never hide again.
I think at this point, I am going to automate up the kick for this whole section just to be a little bit louder.
I cannot walk away. In the storm as I ride. Call my name as the sunfire burns. The courage to never be the same.
the chorus now has got generally too much low mid in. It just sounds a little muddy. Not a lot, just a little.
Call my name as the sunfire burns. The courage to never be the same. To accept my shame as the cold winds churn. Blessed with the power of the arcane. The as the cold winds churn, as the sun, as the cold winds churn, as the sunfire.
See, that last bit doesn't need that volume boost anymore because that group compressor is, because there are less vocals, bringing them up into the space that that big stack of vocals was. That's one reason that I use group compressors on vocals sometimes, is if it keeps changing the number of voices you've got, it kind of sits them all in the same relative space. It's very clever. Now, there was a little bit of jug, 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 which sounded like it deserved a little automation bump there.
As the cold
Just a couple of dB.
as the cold winds churn, as the sunfire burns. This is my power, the arcane. The arcane. As the cold winds churn, as the sunfire burns. This is my power, the arcane.
Things don't quite sound right at the end now. It sounds like the drums are getting lost. So let's turn it up in the headphones and just hit play and just not touch anything for a minute, because there's all this automation now.
Evenings I evenings I contemplate my silence. Light burns blue surround.
Right, so apologies everybody, but no matter what you think, those vocals are too loud. They just are. Because it's all about contrast. So down they come.
Evenings I contemplate my silence. Light burns blue surrounding shade. Feeling shouts that cannot escape. Storm chasing the reveals of hell. I saw decay I cannot turn away. Call my
There's that chug 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 chugger again. Okay, is there any chance to hear the mix on monitors and don't like it? I mean, there's always a chance. But I'm using the virtual headphone system from Slate, which is much better than traditional headphones for that. And at the end, I can cross-reference on different virtual monitoring environments and make sure, see if anything stands out, see if anything's weird, see if anything doesn't work. That's where our problems are. There's still loads of low end in that. I think the last real thing to kind of tweak in the mix is there's something about the top of the drums that isn't there anymore, that wasn't there, but I don't want to just turn up the overheads or turn up the rims because I'll just get a wash of white noise. What I want is something probably in the room. That might be it, but there's just something. I think I probably want a decapitator on there. Yeah, that, and then just bring in a little of it. Hopefully, let's try that. Let's try that in context and see if that's done it. Last thing that I forgot to do on the verses is this needs track spacer. I think it is the most sidechaining I've ever done, but quite a lot of these elements, the arrangement fights itself. There's a lot of mid-range going on at once. And yeah, some of these vocals, especially the verse vocals, were recorded in a very strange way where I can hear a lot of reflections and a lot of reverb and a lot of stuff where I can't just really compress them hard to get them to sit exactly where I want them. So I've got to kind of make space for them. And that's why, yeah, I think you're absolutely right there, David, that this is easily the most sidechaining I think I've ever done in a public mix anyway. I have done quite a lot before, but I try and avoid it wherever possible, but it needs it, so there it is. But yeah, track spacer really replaces traditional sidechaining most of the time for me, so that helps. So now I'm going to listen to this all the way through, see what I think. I did turn down the bass mint on the actual bass guitar a little bit. This isn't the master, this is just the mix, and I want to make sure the kick kind of comes above the bass at every point. And it wasn't doing then. In fact, no, what am I doing? I'm going to add bass mint strength back up, and I'm just going to turn the track spacer. Yeah, so that's got up to 400 Hz. So I'm just going to turn the ratio up a little bit. Let's listen. Yeah, I think we're getting there. So from that bum at the end there, I'm gonna automate up the overheads overall for the end of the song, just to give it more high-end energy, just for that finish. And yes, I saw a suggestion to, after the bass drop, have the bang there. Which, yeah, the whole drum kit does need a bit of an Andy Wallace style bang. And yeah, I know what you mean about the verse vocals, but it's not that they want to be a dB louder, I don't think. It's that there are certain words or certain syllables that are just dropping down a little. So, well, Mike's not muted. Levels coming through. Yeah, Mike's not muted. 1 2 1 2. Yeah, unless something's gone weirdly wrong. But yeah, what I might do, if I submit this mix and it's largely there, then I might go back and just look at each one of the what do you call it? Each one of the syllables and just play with them. Camel fat on the main mix output. Whatever works for you, great. No thanks. Yeah, no, I'm good. I've got a very specific way that I like to work. You don't hear the mic unless you're just messing with me. Because, yeah, everyone else hears it. Maybe you've got a phase issue there. Because if you've got a phase issue, Benj, phase issue would cancel the voice out completely because it's perfectly mono. That could be it, maybe. But yeah, I mean, I could go through this for days and just pick and pick and pick. What was Marty saying? Add some cellos and more strings. Yeah, that's fair. And I mean, if those were to be added at a later date, I could always drop them in. But yeah, I think we are largely... Oh, don't tell me, Benji, you pressed a weird button. Or that your headphones were slightly falling out. Let's use... this is where the bus compressor's coming from Slate, because we'll do... Yeah, you muted the mid. Lol. Yeah, so VBC from Slate. This is all the compressors I would love to have in a nice neat row. I'm going to turn off the 670 because I don't think it'll lend itself tonally today to this. But I'm just going to add a little bit of bus compression and then a limiter. No, for SkyeAsylum. If they want to add cellos, they can add cellos. Tonight is a strict mix. Hello, Mike in chat. Good to see you. So let's just get these set up as I would have them. So not doing too much. Slow attack, fast release.
Call
There we go. So I've just added transgressor on the kick. Now I've got the limiter on. I think... Listen to some classical music for a day to mix the orchestra. But there is no orchestra, there's just synth strings. And yeah, I respectfully say you don't know what you're talking about there, because I did a lot of classical training, thank you very much. This isn't a classical song, this is a metal song. This has priorities that you must address. So, yeah. Yeah, this is not what you seem to think. Whoa. Maybe I want to just reset this. Reset. Ah. Yeah, Andre, if you think you can hear an orchestra there, this is what I have. Very definitely not an orchestra. I've worked with orchestras. This is not that.
Resurrect my compassion. Light burns blue, surrounding shape. Feeling shots I cannot escape. Scorn chasings reveal the hell. Soul decay, I cannot turn away. I cannot walk away.
Oh, it's heaviosity. Nice.
Cannot escape. Scorn chasings reveal the hell. Soul decay.
Getting a little bit Spike Stent. That the word hell there.
Cannot escape. Scorn chasings reveal the hell. Soul decay, I cannot turn. Light burns blue, surrounding shape. Feeling shots I cannot escape. Scorn chasings reveal the hell.
It seems to be the last syllable of each line that needs a boost. Huh.
Light burns blue, surrounding shape. Feeling shots I cannot escape. Scorn chasings reveal the hell. Soul decay, I cannot turn away. I cannot walk away. It resurrects my compassion. Light burns blue, surrounding. It resurrects my compassion.
Pat and compassion is down a bit.
It's my compassion. Light burns blue, surrounding shape. Feeling shots I cannot escape. Sight, it resurrects my compassion.
There we go. That's done. Let's do verse 1 then. If we're getting picky, let's do it.
Even inside, I contemplate my silence. My silence. My silence. My silence.
That's got the n's, but the syllable of the S needs to not be boosted.
My silence. My silence. Light burns blue, surrounding my silence. My silence. Light burns blue, surrounding shape. Feeling shots I cannot escape. Storm chasings reveals the hell. Blue, surrounding shape. Feeling shots I cannot escape. Storm chasings reveals the hell. A soul decay I cannot escape. Storm chasings reveals the hell. A soul decay I cannot turn away. Things reveals the hell. A soul decay I cannot turn away. Call my name.
Yeah. Al's saying, yeah, wouldn't touch this one. Yeah, with this many vocal layers, oh boy, yeah. Right, okay. So what I'm going to do now is listen back through the song again. You guys can all have a listen and see if there's anything that stands out now. This now has bus compression and limiting, which if I was to render this to send to a mastering engineer, they would not be on it. This is to give me a better idea of how they would behave. But I'm going to open up Virtual Mix Rack and I'm going to listen in the car. Here we go. Fantastic. 3 little things I want to tweak. There were 2 little bits on the rhythm guitar there where it goes chug 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 da 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 da. I just want to poke up a little bit, just at the end, because it just gives it that. Yeah, sounding good. And the last one is there's an overhead push for that. And I want that specific bit to be even more just slamming. And that, let's just check that on a different output. Oh, making that stand out might be a bit too much, you think? I mean, I can always back it off a tiny bit. I just really want the snares to pop there without it being... Yeah, I'll back them off a little, but I specifically want that to be a feature. But I don't want to use the snare mics because that'll sound a little bit obvious. Whereas if I bring the overheads up, they've got the big kind of size of the room. That'll just pop it out in the stereo field a little bit. Yeah, I think we got a song there. Let's listen to it one more time. And this time I'm really not going to touch it because I'm terrible for just tweaking everything. And I'm gonna listen in the Howie Weinberg room, which is the most disgusting, horrible sounding room. And if that works, Nam Jam video song. I'm not currently using anything to reference. I think what I might do, because thing is, at this point, I'm happy with it. When it comes to the mastering phase, I will talk to the guys from SkyeAsylum, get a couple of mastering references. Might have to do that not as a stream because of copyright, because mastering references, copyright flags, it's asking for trouble. But at that point, that will just be kind of tonally matching something similar. But yeah, I mean, I've got to the point with the VSX headphones here where I'm fairly confident. Yeah, there you go. So let's have a listen. If it sounds good in these, it should sound good on anything. That's the idea. and the delay tail even goes back off into the distance just on the vocal and doesn't have to hiss. I think we are donezo. At least for today. I'm going to send this over to the chaps from SkyeAsylum to listen on their own system as a nice WAV file. And await feedback. And then I think I've already got another song I've been sent to carry on with this. And in the meantime, I'll have to find time, but I have 2 more songs, like I said at the start of the stream, that I have to mix for Mishveld to finish their album. So it's a busy week. It's go, go, go. And then I'm going to get that done, and then I move house. So, oh boy, it's going to be busy, busy, busy. But thanks to these things, the VSX, this means I can keep this mix going literally anywhere. So, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm probably going to listen to this on my phone and my iPad now, and yeah, then I'll send it over. So, thank you everybody for tuning in. This has been a lot of fun today, and yeah, it's been a hell of a day for me. So, yeah, I think I've got a video coming out tomorrow for Lyric Studio, podcast on Thursday. Hopefully the Mishveld stream on Friday. And yeah, so it's a busy week. Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in, and I will talk to you all very soon. I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye, everybody.
Hey everyone, that might be the end of the video, but if you fancy carrying on this conversation, we have a Discord server, link is in the description. We're also on Patreon, which is something you can really help us with. We also are on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at Hot Pole Studios. See you there.